The sporting world has been rocked by news that Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich, the owner of English football giants Chelsea, has just been sanctioned by the UK government. Chelsea can no longer sell tickets to games or sign new players or contracts. They're not even allowed to sell merchandise. Abramovich isn't the only one being targeted either. Right around the world, we're seeing Russian billionaires scrambling to sell their most valuable assets, and some have already seen theirs being frozen or even seized. As you may have guessed, all of this has to do with Russia's recent invasion of Ukraine. But you might be wondering, why are Russian billionaires being targeted? It comes down to one word: oligarchy. Russia is often referred to as an oligarchy, which is basically when a small group of powerful people hold control over a country and its government. These powerful people are known as oligarchs, and it's a word that's often used to describe extremely rich Russians like Abramovich. Now, just to be clear, it's not just Russia that gets called an oligarchy. Some even use the term to describe the United States. But the wealth and rise to power of many of Russia's billionaires is closely tied to the Russian government, and is a key part of understanding why they're being targeted now. Basically, when the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s and modern-day Russia was born, a lot of Russian businessmen became very, very rich.
I think it was Joseph Stiglitz, one of the high-rank World Bank aficionados at the time, who said that the biggest theft in history is taking place.
Because the Soviet Union was communist, the country's entire economy was owned by the state. We're talking gold mines, TV stations, oil wells, you name it. Russia and its first president Boris Yeltsin decided to ditch communism, and that meant dividing up the state's assets in a process that was plagued by corruption. Billionaires were born overnight.
The way it was done was absolutely scandalous. Those juicy chunks of state property simply were given away to people who managed to ingratiate themselves with Boris Yeltsin. The oligarchs became an independent force. They became, in many ways, the political bosses of Russia under Yeltsin.
Under Yeltsin, a number of oligarchs even ended up taking positions within the government itself, and there have been accusations of money flowing between oligarchs and political leaders, including Putin, that continue to this day.
So they fund his party. He enables them to get wealthy by essentially ripping money out off the Russian people and the Russian economy.
This brings us back to the current sanctions. The hope is that targeting Russian billionaires will have a direct impact on what's happening in Ukraine, and potentially even lead to the billionaires banding together to pressure Putin and the Russian government to end the war. But the big question is, will these sanctions actually work? In some ways, it may have an impact. For example, Abramovich, who has just had an estimated $19 billion of his assets frozen, has been accused of supplying steel through one of his companies to make Russian tanks that are currently being used to invade Ukraine. As for the whole getting together to pressure Putin side of things, many argue that the political influence of Russia's billionaires just isn't what it used to be.
It's a fundamental misreading of how the Russian political system works. Putin reversed the polarity completely. It's now the oligarchs who depend on the state, not vice versa. Abramovich and Usmanov and Deripaska, they will never rise against Putin because their well-being is dependent on the government.
To add to this, Russia has a bit of a reputation for piranha capitalism, meaning a lot of these oligarchs don't exactly work together, and their individual survival is often the main goal. At this stage, we're just going to have to wait to see if any of these sanctions on Russian billionaires prove to be effective. In the meantime, Ukraine and its allies will be hoping that, if they aren't, other sanctions aimed directly at Russia's economy and financial systems can help to bring this war one step closer to a peaceful solution. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also check out the International Politics playlist on our homepage.